off with Giordano, 2-on-1. Michael Backlund shoots, scores!
Benning, great move. Here is Benning, shot, scores!
Comes free to Shane. Blocked by Lucic. Ran him over.
And he wins it back to Foley, scores! No way! Oh my! No way! For Fiddler, backhand to scores! Oh my!
And it is Gilmore waiting around the net, waiting.
Backstrom slides it in front, scores! Jason Chimera!
Kept in by Matthews. Here it is. Scores! 5 minutes into overtime in Game 5. And McDavid scores! Game winner! Series winner for Connor McDavid! I have been Alberta bound for all my life. And I'll be Alberta bound until I die.
Welcome back to the Two Mutts podcast, presented by Shadified Salon and Barbershop. I am your host, Joshua Marshall, and he's going to be kind of co-hosting with us this evening. He's been on with us before. He's a dear friend of the podcast. He is the director and volunteers services at the Brick Tournament. Sonny Sekhon. Sonny, how's it going?
Really good. How are you, Josh?
Good. Did I say it right this time, or did I butcher it this time?
You're like 98% there. It's pretty good.
We're getting there. I should have gotten this a long time ago. I'm surprised you're correcting me now on the pronunciation of the last name, but I owe a fine to that. So that means a couple good MGD beers for you, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So, all right. Yeah. So thank you. And you brought two great people with us today. First time guest in Zach. So we have Zach with us too, but Zach Turner is the operations manager with is it facilities manager with the Brick Hockey Tournament. Zach, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me, and excited to get chatting today.
Nice. No, good to have you on, and another first timer and a guy I've known for quite a while. He is a beauty. He's a MLAC alumni, and he is a very successful head coach in the Alberta Junior Hockey League and other leagues, and he went on to have a great hockey career, and he's doing some play-by-play and some color commentary now. But we have AdamRManah. Adam, how's it going?
Real good. Thanks for having all of us on, Josh. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, no, it's good to see you too. It's been a while. So I think it was almost 6 years, maybe 8 years since the last time we saw each other, until we saw each other again at the Brick Tournament. But good to have you on, and good roundtable discussion we're going to have tonight. In a nice, beautiful, great, warm weather here in Alberta. But I guess we'll kind of get into the nooks and crannies of this. For you, Sonny, we're going to go into kind of how the Brick Tournament started for you, and we kind of know for Zach and Adam. But how did your relationships blossom with Zach and Adam? I'll kind of pose that question to you. And when did you come in contact with them? How long have you known these guys for? And what can you say about the worth ethic that they have, and also the camaraderie and the passion for the game of hockey they have too?
That great question. Manah, I have known longer. So Adam, we grew up. He's in 87, I'm in 86. And so we crossed paths first with Oil Kings, and then he was the Northwest Zone, and then later South Side, MLAC. And AdamRManah played on a line with my lifelong best friend, Adam Loga. They were selects minor, I was selects major. So just kind of always around. And then that kind of blossomed into a relationship as we got older. He ended up coaching a lot of my friends at Sherwood Park. And he had a broadcasting degree, so he was always around the tournament, kind of as a play-by-play guy, and then just was around. And the Brick Tournament was just kind of the place where at least once a year we get that week together, and we get to rehash hilarious memories, make new ones. Standard for Manah would always walk into the room and be like, "Hey there, little guy," and lots of chirps about that, and just a great guy to be around. I'm not going to gas him too much, but I usually take opportunities like this to rip on him. But yeah, it's always a pleasure having him around. And then Zach, I don't know, Zach was probably 12 years old. How old are you now, Zach?
25 now, so maybe I would have started around 12 or 13.
Yeah, and so another one of our like executive members, Russ Loga, his mom, I believe, was working with Zach's mom at the time, and she was keen to get Zach involved. She's like a little young kid, and so Zach can talk about his life and all that, but I just remember him being this quiet guy and coming around, and it started with little things like stock in the fridge. And I vividly remember them having a misprint in our physical program, and Zach and another director's daughter like manually put stickers over these things for like 4,000 programs. And he just kept coming back, volunteering, goal judging. And then we always joked with him. We're like, Russ and I would say, like, stick with us, we'll take you to the top. And now over a decade later, he's on the committee as like a key piece, running a very tough job. Like, Zach's at the arena from 6:15 a.m. till an hour after the last kids are gone, because he's got to be there to make sure everything is going, the rooms are running. If the Zamboni breaks down like it did last year, that's on Zach to figure out. And he's done a really good job of it. Like, all of us have had growing pains, and there's been moments where I think all three of us would have loved to shoot a puck at the other one's face, but at the end of the day, we're like it's a family, and that's like what makes the Brick so special for us. So Manah, we grew up together in it, and for me, I got to watch Zach grow up in it. Like, he's like a little brother to me, so great memories with both of them.
Nice, that's beautiful. Great words. Obviously I can speak to Adam, as a person, and as a hockey guy, and getting to know Zach's story here. As much as you want Zach to open up, but how much has this Brick tournament meant for you? Because the way I would ask that question is, in my life, like, hockey is like done so much for me, and the things that I've lost in my life, but the things that I've gained too. In your words, how much has this tournament meant to you, to being when you started when you were 12 to where you are now? And how much do you look forward to this great week-long event that goes on, and you get to see these great kids play that turn out to be professional players in the NHL or other leagues, or just going on to be successful just in life too? How awesome is it to kind of be a part of this great family?
The tournament means so much, honestly. I can't put into words how much the tournament means. I actually started with the tournament, would have been, I think, the year after my dad passed away. So it kind of gave me, say, father figures or brother figures, and the opportunity to give experience to other families, whereas as I didn't get to grow up with some of those things. It's really cool to be able to have that around and be able to give that to other people. So the tournament just means the absolute world to me, for sure.
Nice. Is there one kind of person, and obviously sorry about losing your father, as someone I lost my father when I was 14 years old. So you and I kind of have a bond in that way. But is there kind of like one mentor to you that kind of helped you out, through that process that carried on throughout all these years that you've been a part of this tournament?
Oh, I can't single one specifically. The group as a whole is so amazing. I work with one of our directors right now, Trevor McGrandle. He was always awesome growing up. Obviously, Sonny, I kind of gravitated towards Sonny from the very beginning. It's funny, actually. My first couple of years there, people would kind of joke and make fun of me because Sonny was the only one I'd really talk to when I was around the rink. I was pretty quiet, pretty shy kid. So I kind of gravitated towards Sonny, and he was the only one I would talk to over the years. And even, Craig Stiles, Andy Wigston, Russ Loga, Adam Loga, Gene Loga. I don't want to forget anyone here.
Yeah.
AdamRManah. It's just all kind of been there to support and been awesome the whole time. So I can't just single one person out. It's just an amazing group, for sure.
Yeah. It is for sure. And it's a team effort, isn't it, Zach? Like, it's a great team effort that takes this to get off and running and keep going on as the weeks go on, for sure, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, just a story from last year. I had a severe nut allergy, and there's some nuts in a wrap there that I ended up eating during the tournament. I had a pretty severe reaction. I had to go to the hospital during the day, so I missed some time. And Sonny and Russ stepped up to help out there and filled in for me. Just speaks to the awesome team we have there, that something like that can happen, and we don't see any gaps, and there's no issue. So yeah.
It was the least I could do after accidentally ordering a nut product and damn near killing you. So
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
a tough one there, but obviously an experience that you don't want to have to face, but having the team in great support. Adam, kind of pose the same question to you. Like, how much does this tournament mean to you? I asked this question, you're smiling right now, like you're a little kid again, and you haven't lost that bite or that touch in your life where you still feel like you're a little kid when you're covering this game, watching this game, coaching this game. How much has this tournament meant to you?
Yeah, exactly what both these guys just said. I mean, it means the world. I mean, I'm so fortunate to have the Brick family, bring me into it because, back then, like Sonny said, I was just graduating out of NAIT and the broadcasting program. And then, I remember VE Services was running show back then, and now HN Live has taken over. But Dave Reed basically asked, our teachers at NAIT, hey, is there any students that would want to kind of audition for the play-by-play role? And then they sent us, 3 or 4 clips of, I guess last year's tournament. And then we had to kind of voice it over and then send it back. And then, Dave ends up calling me and says, yeah, we'd love to bring you aboard. And then that's how I got involved with Sonny and Russ and Andy and Craig. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on as a part of that family. But, everybody just welcomed me in, and it was so easy. And then it was like, I never wanted to leave. Like, not that I ever, thought of doing that, but it was just, that's exactly what you want. And that's why the tournament is so special, because we are so close. And obviously, like Sonny said, we had all the ties from back, in the day. I'm surprised that Sonny didn't say, back when we played, he was trying to run me out of the rink. But
I think he's going to get to that later on. So.
But, luckily he takes care of me now, along with Zach and everybody else that's a part of the fam. And, I can't express how much fun it is every year. Like it's kind of that, it's like we're all best friends, and you might not be able to see each other or connect throughout the entire year of, maybe, you don't see your best friend for a year. But then as soon as that week hits and everybody comes together, it's like you don't miss a beat. Yeah. And it's like everything feels natural and easy, and everybody's looking out for one another. So like I said, I owe everybody a lot, but Sonny and Russ, like, I mean, when the change happened with VE and we switched over to ASTV and then HN Live, I mean, they really went to bat for me in terms of, hey, Adam's been the voice of the Brick for the last, whatever it's been, like 10 years, right? And we want him to stay a part of it. And like I said, they didn't have to do that. They could have just said, hey, HN Live's taking over, and they got their own guys, and that's what's going on, right? But they went out and stepped up for me, and so it means so much. I mean, I'm very grateful for all the support from everyone.
Yeah, Josh, let me ask you a question. You came this year, you came and checked it out. From a first time being kind of behind the curtain, had you not known any of us, what was your first reaction to what you were seeing, product on the ice, to just your first impression of this tournament we've talked so much about?
Well, and it's a great question, like you ask, because for several years, I just go as a spectator. So you just stand on the sides and everything, and you're there either supporting maybe a kid that you might know or a family member you might know or whatever. So this year, just kind of being behind the scenes, it's almost like as you talk about so many times throughout the years when you're on with us, like the preparation of just getting this thing off and running and then making this a success for these kids. Like it's overwhelming response in terms of just seeing how much you guys do together and putting that family vibe that you guys have, like Adam just talked about. It's like, hey, everyone's got lives, everyone's busy, kids, work, all that stuff. But for that 7 to 8, 9 days or whatever it's going to be, you guys all come together. You're staying there, you're staying close to the area, and you're literally looking out for each other. It's a full day event, from the first game pretty much being around 7:30 to the last game being around 7:30 or almost 8 o'clock. It's not easy to do, but it's it just how much is going on, and making sure the sponsors are being talked about and looked after and taking care of them, because without them, a lot of this doesn't go on. At the end of the day, is I agree with Bob Stauffer always says, we're not here we're here because of the players. So obviously the players are the reason why we're kind of out there, but you're doing it for them. But, you know, without the sponsors, a lot of it doesn't get going. And, you know, it's like, it's not easy work. Like there's a lot of moving parts that go on that people don't get to see, that I kind of got to see. It's like, you know, like literally Adam doing play by play, within like seconds, he's got to go down and do a ringside interview. And then it's like another interview. And then it's like 3 stars awards. Like it's things that we typically wouldn't see if you're on the corner side watching, you know, the game. Like you're just like, okay, it's over. It's like, well, it's not over, because, you know, like the 3 stars, the interview after, like, you know, look at the way the game is growing too. And on the women's side of it, Adam, like look at that girl you interviewed on the Detroit team. Like look how good she was, you know, in terms of, and not only was she a good interview, she's a good hockey player too, you know, like, and just blossoming it that way. And that's a way of like showcasing the players. Again, it's like getting down, showing that, like showcasing an interview and putting the spotlight on them. I would just say like it's a great effort. It's hard. It's super probably hard. Like, and I'm just a guy just sitting in the back. So, you know, you guys talk about the grind that it is, and it's, you know, this, like you got to take like 2-3 days just to sleep to catch up, right? So when the tournament's over.
Well, let's just comment on that real quick, because we were talking, usually we have you know, Sonny organizes a little wrap up, you know, at the end of the week for all the volunteers and everybody that, you know, makes the tournament happen. But we were laughing because, you know, Zach, you're still young, but you know, we're getting old now. But we were talking about, okay, I remember back in like 2010, 2011, you know, we're 12, 13 years younger. And after that dinner, usually us young pups were like, okay, well, what are we doing now? Like, where are we going? You know, we're keeping the night going until like at least 1 or 2. And now it's like, you know, like you said, everybody's got kids now, they're married, or, you know, we're just gassed, right? Like it's, you know, we don't like to say that because we're getting older, but I mean, it's just, it's funny to see how it's kind of evolved and changed. And then, like you said, and I know I'm jumping in here, but like even the 3 stars and all the extra stuff, I mean, that's just credit to the whole tournament committee about how that, you know, how they keep making it better, how they keep making it more of a pro-like experience for the players, the parents, the coaches. Like, I mean, it's unbelievable. Like people, like I saw people chirping on social media, you know, during the tournament, after the tournament, saying, why are they doing this 10-year-old tournament? This is ridiculous. Like, you know, you know, they have scouting reports, they do this, they do that. Like, they don't, if you're not at the tournament, you don't see the caliber and the talent. Like, it's something special to watch. I mean, I got a list here of players that have been in the tournament since I started. And you list off some of the names like Cole Caulfield, Cole Perfetti, Trevor Zegras, Jack Hughes, Connor Bedard, you know, Shane Wright, Rutger McGroarty. Like there's so many studs. And it's like you saw them first at the Brick. That's where it all became bigger.
A possibility. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And obviously, again, with all the video and how that's all gotten better, you know, with whether it's the play-by-play or the you know, the first star interviews, or, you know, any of that stuff. I mean, it just continues to grow. I remember I was fortunate enough to interview back in those early years, you know, Martin St. Louis was coaching his kid in Connecticut. You know, Pierre McGuire was here with Connecticut. His kid was playing for the Rangers. You know, I didn't get to do Adam Graves, but Ryan Graves played for Connecticut in 2022. You know, so there's just, you know, Todd Bertuzzi I got to interview. Like, it's crazy, you know, how many people have come through the tournament, whether it's players, coaches, parents, and, you know, it again, it all fits the mold in terms of this is how cool and how special the tournament is. And without actually being there, like Sonny asked you, you know, with you being more, you know, you got to see what was going on this year, you know, you kind of really sit back and appreciate what these guys are trying to do. You know, I'm just the voice, I'm the play-by-play guy, but, you know, these guys spend all year planning and making sure that this is, you know, running as smooth as can be.
What I love,
Manah,
go ahead, Sonny.
Manah brings up, like, you know, something we meet every month, starting in September as a committee, like specifically with one question in mind and the question is like, how do we make this more of an NHL experience? And so we know the product that we put out, and we put it out because we want families and kids to have the most amazing experience every July. We're different than almost every other tournament of this caliber in the world. Like, we don't have preferred hotels, we don't have preferred bus services, we don't have preferred restaurant partners, where we could take kickbacks everywhere. Like, we just provide the infrastructure and the experience that hopefully these kids will remember forever, whether they become Austin Matthews or Macklin Celebrini, or they're AdamRManah, Zach, and Sonny, who didn't even make the team. Like, we want it to be something that they will reflect on in 10 and 20 and 30 years. And so, Zach might be able to touch on it, but I know I always get a bit irked when you have guys like Ken Campbell come on and they have these platforms and they say things about, like, that. First off, some of it's just not true. And it's one thing when you see the brick tournament through the lens of Instagram or TikTok and you catch a 20-second reel. It's another thing if you watch the broadcast, like, you're getting a bit of it, but it's a whole other experience to actually physically be there. And you can be critical, and you can, all the things that you and I have talked about a lot, about the cost of hockey, all those things, it's unescapable. That is a reality. It is an expensive tournament to be at, but compared to other tournaments, it's not that bad. It's just, we're not doing it for anything other than those kids to have a blast. So when people sit there behind their screens, and we had it a couple of years ago where we were wrongfully accused of not doing stuff for a girls tournament that wasn't even us, it rubs us the wrong way, because at the end of the day, we're not. Is it cool to say that in back-to-back years you had Celebrini, who was a Boston Junior, John Calvano alum, and Bedard? Yeah, sure. But that's not why we're there, right? Like, you heard us all talk at length about the tournament just being a place where we're like a family, and we're just proud of what we get to give these kids and their families. So yeah, that's my negative comment on it this year, because I wasn't a big fan of Ken Campbell, but it's not the first time. Like, Zach could probably summarize, like, we were attacked for the girls tournament right after, and it's just, we know that we're probably the best at what we do, and we're gonna have to deal with that negativity in one way or another, and it's probably part of life. So
yeah, it's truthfully not about the caliber. I'll say, my attitude wouldn't change regardless of who's playing the tournament. At least from a personal perspective, my goal is just to bring the best experience we can to these kids. When I was young, it was cool just to have your name announced on the announcer or by the announcer, or have music play in the game. So to be able to bring these kids this unbelievable experience and a really cool atmosphere is really our goal and the whole point of the tournament in my eyes.
Yeah, it also adds like pretty cool feel when you got like the NHL feel of a former NHL or a current NHL player there to support his kid. Like, it's pretty cool, like for Fernando Pisani dropping a puck, giving an award, Zach Parise dropping a puck, giving out an award. That's obviously a huge bonus, but it's just that experience. Like, I just listened to Macklin Celebrini on Spit and Chicklets, and he raved about his time at the Brick Tournament, and and it's just I think he said he was playing D too, and this guy's a forward, so it's just like goes in depth of like how great it is, and like I know a couple kids that are I know parents that are training their kids to get to this level. This is a thing where like their kids are 7 years old, and they're trying to that's their goal, is to get them there, and whether they get them there or not is the fact that they're just trying it. And then look at all the teams that come from different places throughout Canada and the US to come here, and that's a commitment, that's a financial commitment too, and goes into the factor of like what you guys are doing is just a grade A experience where it can the best you can be. And as you said, Sonny, every single month, start of September, you guys are learning how to make this thing better than it was the year before. So
yeah, I want to throw one more thing there. Like, first touch on Celebrini. Like, that interview was unreal, and like the gratitude of a kid that's now a first overall, that's going to be a made player just for like his 200-foot game alone. But people don't talk about these kind of things about the tournament. Like, people tend to focus on the negativity, but again, so he spoke highly about John Calvano and his experience as a defenseman, and talked about at 10 years old learning that if you want to win the top scorer hockey stick, great, go for it, but you might not win the championship. So learning how to play, and at 10, you're still like, you're grasping things and it's setting you on, you know, a path for the rest of your life. And obviously he embraced those lessons, and 8 years later is first overall. Bedard, the year prior, being part of that alumni association. But again, it's not really talked about. And just to wrap up the point on, like, you know, the tournament is so much more than just the product that's on the ice between the two nets, Adam's voice, my volunteers turning on goal lights. Like, we are aware as a committee that this is a big commitment. It's a 7-day tournament, and these are children, right? Like, you're not sending your 10-year-old with one coach. Like, you're generally going to send a family, and they got to stay here and they got to travel, and so we're aware of that. But what doesn't get talked about, in part because as a committee, we don't talk about it because, quite frankly, we don't care. We're not doing it for the outside. We're doing it for the people that are here. Is like, we do things like, we have a beach party that people don't talk about. Like, on Saturday, we shut down half the water park, and that place is rammed with the siblings, the parents, the kids that aren't playing. We put them through different games so that they can win prizes that are like sick, because it would be, I don't know what it would feel, how I would feel at 10 being in Edmonton and on Wednesday knowing you're not going to a championship. So what did Andy and Craig do? They invented this thing where it's like, oh, well, we got the beach party and I can win like a Connor McDavid jersey still.
Yeah.
But now you got the siblings, the families, Little Caesar sponsors the whole thing, all you can eat. They don't talk about how we have a coach, like a welcome party for the coaches and the staff, because like the volunteers and the people on this call, lots of the coaches have been there as long as us, like the Lamachas, the Lindsay and John, the guys from Montreal, like they come back year after year. So we have that night, that dinner, to have like camaraderie with them. Then, like Adam mentioned, we do the same with the volunteers. We do something on Saturday and we do something on Sunday. So it's all those things and more, and like what we talked about earlier, that like make it so special. And, you know, we're probably 20 minutes in this conversation, we still haven't really even talked about how amazing the actual game is. Like, that's just how special this tournament is, that you can sit here for half an hour and talk about like all this other stuff, what makes it a 35-year icon, highlight of the summer. So, you know, I'm obviously biased. I think all of us that you have on here are biased, but I would put us up against any tournament in the world. So
yeah, it's quite the scene. And you know, I've been around a lot of these tournaments lately, just kind of covering, like John Reed. I was around that 2 years ago, and you know, so you know, just kind of it is cool. It's an amazing opportunity for these kids. Zach, do you want to add anything before we kind of move on to our next topic?
No, I think Sonny did a good job touching on the points and just how important and how big it truly is, and how proud of it we are.
Yeah.
I want to throw one question to Adam or Zach, or maybe you both touch on it. Like, you know, we're not going to get to name a ton of names and everybody that should get named, but like Lauren Stiles, Craig's one of the founders, the chairman of the tournament. She's spearheaded social media, and with Casey, they've got a new team this year. And like, how big has that been? Like, in the last couple of years, like to you guys, like how important do you think that has been for like the shift in certainly the hype and sponsors, and just the overall added what it's added to the tournament?
Zach,
I think it's massive. Sorry, Adam.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's huge, obviously. I mean, their content is of the quality that is being picked up by Bleacher Report and ESPN and so on. So I think they've done an awesome job, and they continue to grow every year to the point that their team gets bigger and bigger. And I don't think you can say enough about what social media has done. And on another note, HN Live has done. But a special thanks to our social media team, has done an awesome job in volunteering and putting out unbelievable content all week and getting better every single year.
We had three different clips that went viral, like between 1 and 3 million views. And like, I don't know, Manah, like you have a broadcast background. Like, what do you think about that stuff?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's been phenomenal. Like sometimes, like if I'm not at the rink yet, I'm looking at what's getting posted on the social media side, and Lauren and the whole team has been unbelievable, like Zach said. But I just find it hilarious that they seem to find the best moments. Somehow, some way, they're always in the right spot at the right time. And then B, like for example, Detroit, like they throw the octopus on the ice, right? And then they capture that and say, hey, look, the longstanding tradition of Detroit and the Red Wings, they do it here at the Brick. So it's just really, cool moments like that they capture. But like Sonny said, like those 3 reels, I mean, like when you hit that many views, and that's the social media part's huge now. I mean, that's really gotten the tournament go from here all the way up to here in a way where how many more people are seeing these kids and these clips, around the world, and they're looking at this tournament like, I read the comments and these it's either like one of a few things. Where are they playing right now? And then everybody says the mall. And then number 2 is, why is the glass so low? Aren't the kids going to kill somebody with their shots? And then just again, number 3 would be, how good are these guys? Like or girls, right? Like, I mean, Mina Chen for Western this year was a standout for them. But you just see, just so many different things at the tournament, and they capture not just the on ice product, but the all the off ice stuff that's going on as well. And it's phenomenal.
Adam, you made a comment there about just them capturing all the good moments. And I think that's truly a testament to their commitment. They're same hours as I am, all over the rink, doing every single game, sitting there hour on end, making sure they get every single clip. So I think that's a true testament to how committed they are to this tournament.
One thing I will say too about like all of the media, and Adam, you've obviously been part of it, is, at 10 years old, some of them 9, we talk about the good moments, and believe me, there's the opportunity to have bad moments, and you could do blooper reels. But again, going back to what we've been talking about this whole time, it's like, what good is it if we post something hilarious of a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old and embarrass them? It's like, again, it's something that we think about to make sure it's amplified and making it the best. So if there is a blooper, you'll never see it, because that's not what we're about. We're about showcasing the best and having every kid have that those best experiences. Yeah, I think their whole team has done phenomenal. I mean, tournament runs on like 100 volunteers, and they definitely eat up a lot of those hours. So yeah.
And you say maybe just an honorable mention to Marty, who gets the kids fired up.
Oh, yeah.
And does a terrific job with the music and making sure he's got the right tunes to come out to for each team, because I'm pretty sure they submit what song they want to come out to, and he's always the guy that's getting them fired up before they hit the ice, and you can always hear them. So he deserves some credit there too, along with all the social media team there as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw one more out too, just because it's such an easy one to overlook, because I've never met a hockey person, player, or coach that likes a referee. But our ref in chief, Norm Shaw, has been there for over 30 years. He's called a game with all of his kids. Mystery Shaw, his daughter's the youngest of the bunch. I think she just turned 19, did a fantastic job. But like, the officials, like everything else at the tournament, are like second to none. And this year we went to a 4-man system, so we didn't want 4 adults on the ice with the kids. So we had, the lines were like smaller people, but like 14, 15-year-old kids, but the best at that level. We've had refs that have called World Junior games, AJ games, and it's not always easy, and like anything, there's human error. But we'd be remiss to not mention Norm and the amount of work that they've put into it. Like, people don't realize that we actually have a unique rule book to the Brick tournament, because Adam mentioned the ice and the low glass. So it's another thing we've thought about, like the dressing rooms, below ground, you can't see the ice. So we've had all these tweaks that are basically a hockey candidate. That's at the tournament. Another thing that people aren't going to talk about. But yeah, I mean, we're 39 minutes in here, and we haven't even actually got to talk about the quality of play this year. So I'd be curious to hear, Josh, what you thought, and obviously Manah and Zach.
I'll throw it to the guys that are there more than me, but I'll just quickly say it's mind blowing, the talent that's there. But For you, Adam, that question to you, obviously a lot of prep goes into, learning the names and the pronunciation of the names and all that stuff too. But when you get to see those names and then you get on the piece of paper, then you get to see them on the ice, that transition and names that you'll remember forever and plays you'll remember forever. How great was the success of this tournament for you?
Yeah, I mean, again, when I talked earlier about being, lucky, fortunate to be in the spot that I am in terms of calling the games, and then having those interviews with guys like Bertuzzi and I remember Bertuzzi. He was a tower compared to me, right? So I'm looking up at him. And I'm like, Bert, you gonna take that dip out before we do the interview on camera? He's like, no, I'm good. And I'm like, all right, I'm just asking. But
Yeah.
he was an absolute beauty. And but like I said, when I kind of listed off the names, and Gavin McKenna played in 2017, and I'm glad Sonny brought up Celebrini. Michael Misa is going to be another name that played in Toronto with the Bulldogs. Landon Dupont played for the Brick. Obviously, he's getting a ton of publicity right now, being the first overall pick in the Western League draft. And then,
Underage.
What's that?
As an exemption.
Yeah, as an exemption. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you, Sonny. And then you got Liam Tepp with Montreal, last year, Quincy Fontaine, Cameron Coombe with Detroit. Those guys all stood out this year. Obviously, it was Pusateri, Kolarek, Hartley ball from Detroit, and Detroit, their first title in 30 years. But, and really it was their first title ever because they were called, Little Caesars back in 94. So, technically two different programs per se. But yeah, the talent, I mean, you can just kind of tell right away, like when you're looking down at the sheet and you're calling, whether it's Western and Team Brick, you'll know right away which names you're calling more and more and more throughout the game, right? And certain times it's maybe that player's having a good game, but usually there's a theme to it where every single day you're calling the same names. Those players stand out. But I mean, the talent for me, and I'm sure these guys would agree, it just seems to get better and better and better every year. And obviously it's, I like to consider myself a skills coach as well as, as a head coach and everything else. But, when I'm on the ice with these players now, I'm sitting there being like, well, man, why didn't we have this back then? Like, this would have been phenomenal for us to develop and get better at a young age. And, you talk to Pusateri when I was interviewing him on the after one of the games, and I'm like, who do you guys got helping you guys? Like Zetterberg, Datsuk, like who's teaching you guys how to delay and see the ice and make all these plays that you would normally see, maybe minimum U15 triple. We're still talking 5 years younger. And they're so far ahead of that curve already. So like I said, it's very impressive. The talent and the IQ that these kids are, possessing. And I'm sure they have, whether it's skating coaches, skill coaches, video coaches, like the sky's the limit for these guys now. So it's, it's no wonder the tournament in itself is getting better with the on ice product as well.
Yeah.
We saw the first ever Michigan in game. I can't remember his name, but on PA, we'd been talking. We're like, it's going to happen. Like these guys are looking up to Zegras and like the Zorro moves. They're all following Barber on Instagram. And sure enough, he, it wasn't like watching Svechnikov do it, but he pulled it off in a game at the highest level as a 10-year-old. And we're all like, it took us a second to like process it. So that the skill level is absolutely getting insane. Not to turn it into like doom and gloom in Canada, US kind of thing, but a trend that has definitely been noticeable. I guess with the exception of Tepp and Fontaine last year on Montreal, is that by and large, I'd say since COVID really, the American youth are displaying the super top end skill and talent. It wasn't a surprise that Connecticut won, I think 3 in a row. Minnesota was in like consecutive finals, and Detroit ends up winning this year. And What will be interesting is, 8-9 years down the road, because if this is any indication or a barometer of Canada US, the Canada World Juniors are going to be in trouble. And that could be just as simple. It could come down to Canada wasn't allowed to play for 2 years while the Americans kind of found ways to do it. They had private facilities, and we're seeing it firsthand. And I don't know, maybe that's just me, but Zach, you're there every year. You think there's anything to it?
There very well might be. There is a noticeable difference. Year after year, you do see that the top teams and the top players starting to come more commonly from the U.S. Starting, I guess, would have been even 2019. I think that was Connecticut's first one. Yeah, I mean, we'll see the years to come, but there's definitely a possibility that there's something there.
Yeah, whereas just to their points, like between 2011 and 2019, probably it was the Toronto Bulldogs show.
For sure.
For that 7-year window, there was a couple teams mixed in there as well. But really, like Sonny's right. I mean, the Canadian teams were dominating. And now it seems like the last, 3-4 years, the American teams are really starting to kind of vault their way up. And, it's making the tournament so much better because, now those teams are in the mix every single year. And Detroit came close last year. I mean, they lost to Mini in the semi. And, this year they kind of get through and win. So again, hopefully maybe that's not hopefully it's relevant to the Oilers where they lost this year in Game 7 and they'll break through next year. I don't know. But.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second too. Anything you want to add there more, Sonny? Or
yeah, I mean, I don't have the time in the rest of the year to give all my feelings on it, but like you and I have talked about, like, yeah, I think it's more than COVID. Yeah, I've talked to you about how the numbers for hockey registrants in Canada are just declining. For the first time in history, the US actually had more registered hockey players than Canada. And there's a million reasons for that: cost, problems within the game, nepotism, racism, all things that are unfortunate and take away from like the game we all love.
Mhm.
And that's why, I talk about it so often, because I hope that they can fix it and that, there's parity and Canada continues to grow. But yeah, I mean, again, they're 10. So
yeah.
this is a pretty good indication of what's going to be coming down the line. So
Yeah, and I know Jason Gregor, that was a conversation on his show last week on, Steve Simmons wrote an article saying that this is a problem. There's a problem in Canada, and Gregor took great offense to it in terms of saying, I don't believe that because 18 kids got drafted in the first round versus 4 out of the US in the NHL draft this year. But maybe those numbers aren't there right now for Canada versus US, but he still thinks Canada has greater depth in any which way. And, we'll beg to differ, and we'll see how that is if the 4 nations face off and at the Olympics the following year. But I think more or less what you guys are trying to say is as we're going to get older, we're going to see US here and Canada kind of maybe even itself out. Maybe the numbers will be different in terms of an NHL draft where maybe there's 18 USA players getting drafted and there's only 4 Canadians getting drafted because, like you said, we had to stop kind of playing hockey for 2 years. We saw that in the development in Shane Wright, him not playing in the OHL and taking a year off. Instead of moving him from a first overall pick, he got drafted 4th overall. In his development, getting to the next level is tough. And I saw an article the other day that he just said he's like, I had to learn how to be a pro because of all that. So it's probably not a bad thing, and we'll see where his career goes out from there. There's a few more things we want to get to, but is that kind of where we want to wrap up the brick tournament there, Sonny, or is there something more you wanted to add to it before we move on to some other conversation?
I think we can wrap brick there, but like you made one comment with like Gregor that I think would lead into what you were saying earlier about like Maple Leafs and Southside and all that stuff, and like I agree that right now Gregor's right. He probably knows more about sport than I do. But the stuff we're talking about, like COVID year 2020, again, we're not going to see, I don't think we're going to see that real shift for 8 years, right? Like,
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like, if you go back at the brick tournament over the last, there's amazing Canadian players. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is like the top end, drop your jaw, the Pusataris, the Choleric this year, with the exception of Tep and Fontaine last year, have been American kids, right? So we can examine that to death, the COVID, the cost, whatever. But I do feel like unless Canada takes steps, it's going to shift, which led me into the next thing. Like, you know, when Manah and I played, when you played, when Zach played, hockey was pretty freaking simple. Like, I played for SWAT. Adam Loga played for Confed. If you were good enough, you played on the club team for the Oil Kings. That was it.
Mhm.
Then when you left Pee Wee, if you were at that point a top 50 player, you played on a single A Southside team, a double A Southside team, or a triple A Southside team. CAC, MLAC, KC. Now it seems like, you know, I honestly can't even tell you what leagues exist anymore. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but like it's confusing, and it's like there's so many hands in the kitchen, and it like feels complicated, you know, like you got the whole silent ice side of things, like the rogue hockey leagues, then you've got like the academy leagues, then you've got like EMHA, I think, like the last time I checked, like there's like an Edmonton AAA team, like you're now at South Side. Like it just seems confusing, and like all these things are competing for the best players. And I mean, it's a good thing to have a greater number of players playing at a higher level, I think. But back in the day, you truly were only going to get like the top 50 players, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's contributing to it. And I know we talked about like players leaving different organizations, but yeah, I don't know. I would be curious to hear all your thoughts on that.
Well, you know, I'll open it up. Like I grew up north side, and a lot of my close friends, all pretty much all played. Like AdamRManah was a teammate of one of my best friends in high school, and David Murray, Murdog. So, like Murray and I were like, best friends in school. So like that's where they played Maple Leaf Athletic Club. Like I grew up with Johnny Boychuk, Maple Leaf Athletic Club, Petrovich. Cam Moon played years ago. Cam Moon's a mentor of mine. Like there's a lot of like great players. Rob Sirianni came out of that program too. So a lot of the great names, and Adam can add to more names. And the last 2 years I was a part of this program, and it was really tough to leave to go to Southside. But seeing the month and a half to 2 months of being at Southside, it's a breath of fresh air. But I took some time to make my announcement, to make it public. I really took the time to kind of breathe it all in. I'm not saying I was like thinking about going back. It just, I didn't know how to kind of announce it. And when I did, I didn't think I was going to get the response that I did. And as of tonight, before we hit record, 12 different families / kids have reached out privately. And these are top kids. Like these are your first and second line players, first, second line demon, starting goaltenders, that are just 12. That's just 12 kids that are leaving this program going into this season. I think that's a staggering number. I know one family that I was really close with and am close with. They just had enough, and they sold their house because they're in the boundary of MLAC, and they're going to go to Sherwood Park. Like they just said, I'm done. Like they literally had to sell their house. They took a beating on selling their house just to leave for the experiment, to go put their kid in a better program that for them will, be better for his development as a kid growing up. And I don't know what has to change at MLAC. I know when during the times that these guys are there was a lot of success. But how does Adam, for you, how does MLAC get back from maybe what you know or don't know, but just in general, like how does MLAC get back to the points of like putting players through CHL, in that program, like playing, AJHL, playing Western Hockey League, like, because it's been a while since some of their kids have gone into that kind of trajectory. I just kind of want to pick your brain and also add to what Sonny was saying on like there's so many different leagues and all this stuff. Where would it break down for you?
Yeah, so I mean, you can add, Mark Fistrick into that list. He was a former Maple Leaf guy. Shannon Zabados,
Yeah.
very well known, played with the Leafs and then moved on to her career. But, being a junior A coach the last 8 years in the Alberta Junior Hockey League, I mean, we've seen it evolve so much. And it even goes back to when I was in Grand Prairie and I took over. I moved up there to take the U18 AAA job. And I was very fortunate to have, good mentors. But, Kelly Coulter was the man that hired me for that job coming out of, U15 AAA. And I was at CAC at the time. And things were normal. When I say normal, it was kind of what Sonny was saying with how it used to be. And then it started to evolve going into, well, maybe that was just the start, because the academies started to come out, whether it was, OHA and Penticton, I think at the time they were one of the first. And then, and then you had all the other ones pop up like NAX and OHA Edmonton and all the other academies. So then it just blew up. And for me, I've been saying to a lot of people, if you don't have the budget, within, and then we're talking junior A now, but if you don't have the budget in your scouting staff, it's what Sonny said, like, you're almost not confused, but you're like, which leagues do I start at here? Because there's all the best players are scattered all over the place now. Like before, like he was saying, you would show up to Bill Hunter, which was Jasper Place back then, and you knew that the Leafs were playing KC, or they were playing Southside, or they were playing St. Albert, and you knew the best players were on display at that level because that's the only place they could play. And that was the league. The Alberta Midget Hockey League was the league, ran by good old Bobby O, who, has been great to me over the years as well. And he was always coming to the tournament as well, Sonny. And Zach would know.
He was there.
Yeah. Was he back this year as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and Bobby ran a great league, right? And I just remember how it started to change, when I got to Grand Prairie. And again, Grand Prairie, and now with me being in Fort McMurray, tough places to recruit players to, right? Because it's way up north. Guys are kind of like looking at the map and they're like, well, geez, that's, 4 hours away from anything. So, their first choice is going to be to stay at home. So it's tougher to recruit those guys. But then that's where at the U18 level, there was players leaving Grand Prairie to go play at the academy schools. And so the only way that we found a way to bring them back, to your point of what does MLAC have to do, or any of these programs for that matter, is you got to bring in qualified coaches. It's a lot different than back then when coaches didn't make any money doing what they were doing, right? I mean, you got to invest in, and I know clubs aren't, loaded with, coin to pay these guys, but if you're going to build and you're going to reestablish your program, it has to start with having, that person at the top that's saying, okay, we got to go out and find the best coaches available. And if we do that, we will be able to recruit those high-end guys, or just getting those north side players to stay on the north side, rather than, like you said, the one family moving to Sherwood Park or jumping to OHA or jumping to NAX. And there's nothing, I don't want to, it's not that I'm speaking badly or poorly about the academies here, but if you want to try and keep those players, you got to give them a reason to stay.
Yeah.
And it goes into everything that you do. It kind of resembles what Sonny and Zach and the whole committee is doing with the brick tournament. You want to give the players and the families, and at that level, more so the players, the best experience they can possibly have for playing for your program. So you want to give them, you want to be able to say, okay, well, you come play for us, you're getting, the coaching staff's going to be doing one-on-one video with you. They're going to be doing team vid. They're going to be, getting 3 to 4 practices a week plus the 2 games. And some of this might already be going on. I've been out of it for a little bit at that level, and Josh, you could probably speak to it a little bit more, but that's where I would probably start. And that's what got us when I was in Grand Prairie. It started to flip the table of some of the guys that left and thought the grass was greener per se at some of these academies or wherever they went, to say, well, okay, we have an established coach right in our backyard. Why would we move and spend all the extra money that we don't have to and just stay at home?
And we
right?
just seen it. Like, you guys, all 3 of you guys seen McIntyre and Ruptash play in this brick tournament. and these guys are first round picks in the WHL, and they played club hockey. So like, you can still play club hockey and get noticed and get drafted. So I know we kind of rambled on a lot here and haven't given Zach some time here, but Zach, what's your thoughts on this whole situation? What can you add positive, in a way, or what are you seeing from your periphery here?
I don't have a lot of meaningful comments to make. I've been out of minor hockey and not familiar with it for quite a few years now. It's really the value factor is giving these players something meaningful to go to these clubs for and things like that. I grew up in the days of Stuart Skinner. He played Southside as I was growing up, and Tyler Benson. So there's two examples right there of coming up through the program. But I actually, the biggest thing I come out of here with is the conversation we are having earlier about the disparity between US and Canada. Is just the best players are no longer playing against the best players. You have 10 different leagues, and that's a big part of it. You get one league or one value factor of the best players playing against the best players. You get the most development of it, and I think that's a big part.
Yeah,
and that's a great point by Zach, because again, that kind of tied into the scouting points of how do we find those best players? And unless you're, for example, in our league, I mean, if you have the scouting budget to say, okay, Josh, you're going to watch the Alberta Elite Hockey League, and then Sonny, you're going to go watch the CSSHL, and then Zach, you're going to go cover the HSL League. Like, I mean, you got to be in 10 different spots at once now just to find those high-end guys. And then that still might not even be enough when you're competing against the Brooks Bandits, the Okotoks Oilers, the teams, just specifically in the Alberta Junior Hockey League that, Brooks has been building their program since 2010.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for them, they've done a terrific job, obviously. And they're getting phone calls from advisors and parents and families that say, hey, how do we come play for Brooks? But other programs are not at that, especially if there's been coaching changes or they haven't been able to sustain or build that program for years and years and years. When I was in Fort McMurray and we ended up winning in 06, I mean, Gord Thibodeau, he was there from, I think it was 03 to 2014, right? And Fort Mac was the spot to go. But then as soon as he leaves, then there's, I think 7 or 8 coaching changes in a matter of 10 years, and you can't really get that program off the ground again. And you're fighting and you're fighting. And then geography is against you as well, because now more than I think back in our day, and I'll just speaking from experience, is kids, if they can play at home or play closer to home, they're going to take that option rather than maybe taking the experience away from home, which is what we wanted to do. And that wasn't anything against mom and dad. We just wanted to zip out and go, kind of experience junior A hockey. Right. So, and then with what Zach said about USA Hockey and Hockey Canada, I mean, now with what's going on in the BCHL and how they're just able to pluck players from other rosters for free. I mean, it just hurts the product in every other league, in Canada. And then it's just like Zach said, you're not getting, the AJ was really starting to take off.
It was,
going into COVID, it was, really taken off. And now you can't even recognize it. 5 teams have left and, they're down to 12 and it's all over the place.
I think it was taken off when I saw you and I came to scout when I was and oddly enough, I was scouting for the Surrey Eagles at the time, and you and Belzy were coaching, and you had Taylor Medic doing the play-by-play. Like, that was, like right then and there, like, you got a good core of people. And I think McCarr was in the league at that time too, Kale McCarr. So, really good. I know, Sonny, you're chomping to go here. Throw
Manah's,
to you. Yeah.
Give Manah his gas here. Like, that COVID year coming into the playoffs, like, our hearts broke for Manah. I have a close friend on the team, Arjun Atwell, but like, you look at that roster, like, Zapernick and Benning and Savoy and Arj, like, it was like a true powerhouse, and like, that was a sign of things to come. And then virus comes around and throws a lot of people's like hockey futures up in the air. But I mean, that's an uncontrollable. What everyone has said though, like Zach's comment about US best on best versus Canada, I go back to, like, I don't know, maybe I'm like, let me also say that I have friends in all of these academies. Bell's a good friend. These are all great hockey people that anyone would be lucky to learn from. Like, I'm not saying that like Bell is a better coach than Manah, and Manah is a better coach than Umberto, or these are all unbelievably qualified people that I know I didn't have when I was growing up playing the game. But it's just, I go back to, there's just so many options. And when you look at the numbers, Zach's an accountant, when you have less people registering spread across more leagues, it's generally not going to lead to the best product, right? Like it's not a rocket. And that's like, I've talked about it a lot. Like, it is a business and people have every right to run businesses and put things on. But like, sometimes I worry that the business of hockey is interfering with like the growth of hockey and like the growth of the best players. Even growing up, like, you're mentioning these kids, like they're leaving MLAC to go because they have options.
And some
Again,
are leaving to just quit hockey in general too. Sorry, I should.
which is,
go ahead.
which is, I hope it's not like a interpersonal thing. It could be a finance. There's a lot of reasons kids walk away from the game that happens, unfortunately. But like, we live in an era too where like, okay, if the three of you are coaches and I'm playing for Southside and I'm the sixth defenseman, and Adam says to me, well, if you work on this, you can be our 4-5. And then Josh, you say, well, we'll use on the power play, and you're all in different leagues. It's like, you just go to what you want to hear, right? Like back in the day when we all played, Manah could have been my best friend in the whole world, and I would want to play with him and be good enough to be on the team. But you had to get released, enter the draft, and move laterally. Again, like, I feel like it's an easy way out. People are leaving for the wrong reasons rather than like gritting it out and facing the hard truth that maybe you're just not a top 6 player. And like, if you want to be a top 6 player, rather than jumping ship, grind it out and come back, or go be a top 6 player on a weaker program, right? And that's where I get like frustrated with, like, I guess, all these options, because that's the only thing that has changed in my lifetime, is that there's just so many pathways. And again, it's just I think Zach was the one that said it. Like, I don't know where you can have best on best anymore.
Yeah.
And just to jump in, sorry, quick on Sonny's point there. We had a top 4 defenseman that was playing for us this year. That came into my office in mid-December, and he's a phenomenal kid, love him, but he came in and had to have the hard chat with me to say, hey, a BCHL team called me, I wasn't going to go. They called me 3 weeks ago. I wanted to stay here. Then I, kind of thought about it more. It was in a good spot on the island. And then, they offered him exactly what Sonny just said of, we wanted him. He was mainly a shutdown guy. And then the team on the island says, well, we'll give you power play time. And then boom,
Gone.
That sold him and said, yep, I'm going. Not just because of that, but because it was the BCHL and it was fresh, it was new, and it could be a big opportunity for him going to that league. But again, it's kind of what's there. I guess the points of Sonny of people think again, they're jumping for the wrong reasons, or the grass is greener on the other side, or they think it is when really it's not. Especially if maybe in certain cases it is, but they really got to be sure on that. And then like, is it benefiting them?
Yeah.
Like the player, right? Is it gonna pay off? Or, like from what I heard, the player went there, they gave him a minute of power play time, and then he never saw PP again. Right. So like, it was just to sell him on the fact of, okay, that's what he wanted to hear. Boom, they get him out there, and then now he's basically stuck, right?
Yeah.
Because once you go over to the BCHL now specifically, right, under the rules that they were, that Hockey Canada had, you could not cross back over and come back to the AJ or any other league in Canada. So once you play that game and you step on the ice, you're toast.
That's unfortunate. Is it still like that now, or with all the changes, would it be like?
Well, BCHL is not even part of Hockey Canada anymore, right? So
yeah.
I don't think they.
So
I don't think they
doesn't matter now, right?
Good.
Yeah.
Right. So from what I heard there, I think the AJ is allowed now, like Hockey Canada knew they had to do something because again, it was like all of the best players across Canada were getting plucked for nothing. And then, so I think now those leagues are allowed to take those players back. But for me, being in the AJ for 8 years and having that structure within Hockey Canada and within the leagues, it's like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like teams can just go steal other guys. And let's be honest, whether it's the AJ, SJ, anybody else, you're not stealing Josh Marshall, who's got 95 points for the Nanaimo Clippers, to come play in Fort McMurray or to come play in Grand Prairie or wherever. It's happening one way, but it ain't happening the other way. You might be recruiting their 25th guy or their 26th guy on the roster.
Yeah.
If it's the reality, right? So, I mean, how is that making the other leagues better? It's not, in my opinion. It's, does it help? Sure, but it's not like plucking the Argent Atwalls, like I couldn't imagine if some of our guys in Sherwood Park at that time, had that option of just walking, and we had an unbelievable group, like Sonny said, where I don't think like those guys were so tight that I think we were destined to go on a long run. I don't want to say win because I'm not that guy to jump ahead and say we were going to win, but I think we had a pretty good chance of it. But I mean, the whole system is just, it's just not good right now.
Yeah, it's broken. It's broken for sure.
Big time.
Yeah. Our NHL news and notes segment is brought to you by Sheena Boychuk. Yes, you heard that last name right. That's Sheena Boychuk. As a licensed realtor, Sheena has you covered to buy and sell your home in this hot market. She also offers home consulting services to help you upgrade your living space. Check her website out at sheenaboychuk.com and tell her the Two Mutts podcast sent you. Realty by Design, your design approach to real estate. Thanks to our sponsors for being a part of our 2 months podcast journey. And as we are looking forward to adding some more into the fold as we go forward, it's greatly appreciated. And as always, 100% of our sponsorship money goes to back to our community here in Alberta. So great causes and great initiatives that are doing there. But let's finish up on some rapid fire, some brick tournament. I know we were loaded with some great stuff, and AdamRManah Part 2 will be next week because there's a story to be told, and a great one, and kind of a difficult one. Obviously, someone that I've kind of followed for a long time here. It's unfortunate that we've been distanced from each other, but there's a lot of mutual respect between me and you, Adam, and a lot of other mutual friends that we have. But we're going to save that part for Part 2 for next week. But Zach, I think you got some pretty funny stories from the brick tournament, and I don't know where we will start. I guess maybe let's go with the BioSteel one, and then you can just kind of take us down some memory lane, some funny ones. I'm sure there's a few you got there, Adam, too, of and other things of Sonny just body checking you everywhere that possibly could be in life. So as he's a unit and he's a big beast, he's the big man, as we like to call him too sometimes. But Zach, can you share some good rapid fire funny stories, the BioSteel one and any others that you feel like sharing with the listeners here?
Sure. Yeah, I guess the mythical me putting BioSteel out of business, I suppose, is last year, just doing an interview on the stream, kind of last minute, just chatting about kind of my role at the tournament, and just talking about what I do. And I was talking about bringing in all the drinks, and BioSteel is obviously a big sponsor of the tournament last year. But during the interview, I dropped the name Gatorade on the stream, and just a couple weeks later, BioSteel declared bankruptcy. So it's kind of been a standing joke for the last 12 months or so that I put BioSteel out of business.
Oh, it wasn't a joke. I sent a letter to BioSteel. I put it on social media. I told everyone, but no, we were dying laughing. But again, yeah,
they're out without business. That's for sure. Yeah, we had them as a sponsor too, but no longer there. But yeah, that's a kind of a funny one. It just kind of slip of the tongue. You say a different name, and you know what? It's funny because I think Who was it at the All-Star game? I think it was actually no, I think it was one of the Hughes brothers. He said he's like, yeah, just dosing Gatorade.
Jack Hughes.
Jack
Gato.
Hughes, yeah, Gato. That's what it was, Gato. And it's
Yeah.
like Boston's forking up like 9 sheets a million. I'm sure they love that comment. But so yeah, you and Hughes, Zach Turner and Jack Hughes put Boston out of business. So you guys
I guess so.
comment there, eh? So any other funny stories you have to share?
Just the one that comes to mind is I was young. I was 14 or 15. It was my first couple of years there, and the ice plant stopped working or shut off. I don't remember the details behind it.
Yeah, the compressor.
But I remember, yeah, as the games went on, just puddles and puddles and puddles of water formed on top of the ice. So during the intermission, we were out with squeegees and buckets and mops, and I know even Craig Stiles, the chairman, was out there sweeping and mopping up the ice. And at one point, the giant mound formed on the ice, and the ice guy came out to scrape it down, but scraped a little too far and made a giant hole in the ice, and decided to go grab the fire extinguisher to try and freeze it and get the ice back, but grabbed the wrong fire extinguisher that had the wrong type, and all he did was like pour some yellow foamy stuff all over it, ruining the ice. So we were there out shoveling that stuff up, sweeping up all the water, all the stuff. I remember coming off the ice and I was soaked, and I was like, my feet were freezing. I needed a new pair of socks. And there's one girl volunteer there, Chelsea Butt. And she's like, I have an extra pair of socks to you, but there are these purple socks. So I remember coming off the ice, and I had to wear these like purple girl socks the rest of the day because we were sweeping up the ice and mopping up the ice all day. It was pretty hilarious.
That's fun.
I remember like that tournament. You know, what are we supposed to do in the middle of the tournament? Like, it was a disadvantage for everyone, but you could legit like read the ice. You're going for a putt, depending on like, and then I'll never forget that same tournament, like a kid being seemingly in on a breakaway and like taking off, and then just stops. Just like you just see the water like puddling behind. It was like that was
the signage was coming up out of the ice. It was hilarious.
How long did it take to get the compressor back running? Was it just a quick
we didn't have it for that tournament. I think we suffered through that. I think by like the weekend for the playoffs, it was like they had like a temporary solution, but shortly after that, the mall went like and did like a $3 million renovation, maybe even more. Like they new compressor, new Zamboni, changed the boards, new score clock. But yeah, it was hilarious. Zach is right.
How did you keep the temperature then with the? So was like it was just the
they were able to manage it overnight a little bit. I remember they built up quite a bit overnight for what they could, but it was so hot during the day, and the compressor wasn't working properly.
Yeah.
So during the days it was melt down, and then they would stay overnight and build up as much ice as they could overnight and manage what they could with the little bit the compressor was working and manage with that during the days.
It was also the first year, I think it was Mayfield Toyota had a sponsorship there. So they had like the Toyota logos at center ice with like the red line. And it was like one of the first years we had our brick logos in it. So like, depending on what day you came, you would just see like this red, like soup, like just like all over the rink. It was hilarious.
Yeah. So Adam, I guess you got your show around here a bit by Sonny. Can you explain how many times you took a hit from him?
I don't know what you're talking about, but no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, he tried to I think we mentioned it right at the beginning, or maybe it was off air by that point. But yeah, he was, well, if he could catch me, I guess he was trying to run me through the boards. Despite what he tells you, he hated playing against me because I was just that little guy that zipped around on the ice. And yeah, I wasn't the biggest guy, but I was probably one of the fastest.
Yeah.
So, but he got me lined up a few times. Like, you know, sometimes I wonder if I had a few conkies back in the day from him getting me, but you know, back then again, we had like, there was no trainers, there's no nothing. So all you knew was you came back to the bench, you shook it off, and you jumped back out there. Now I couldn't have been that concussed, I guess, if it was, but yeah, he got me lined up a few times. And then this year, you know, we're talking about stories. You know, I'm lucky enough to get to interview him there, where you spotted me interviewing the first Stars. So me and Sonny we're doing an interview, a serious one, you know, I thought.
Yeah.
And then you know, he starts chirping me. And what did you say, Sonny? I can't even remember. I blacked it out now.
Manah, it was, he asked me about like the caliber of play and like the growth of the game. And so I was like trying to bait him into it. And I was talking about how the kids are getting bigger and all this stuff. So then Manah starts talking about how like, yeah, these kids are like huge. So then it was just like too easy. I was just like, yeah, man, like Manah, you're a clean shave away from being eligible. Like just
Yeah,
like,
you got me pretty good on that one actually, but I had to give him credit because that I think I started laughing. I'm like, ah, yeah.
oh, you were
Touche.
stunned. Like you were like, and I didn't like really, I didn't think much about it, but I walked down, like there's Hockey Central underneath and they watch the feed. And I walked down there and they're all like dying laughing. So I was like, oh, I got him good. Like it was fun.
Yeah.
Dave and the crew
So
is just laughing. Yeah.
and there's the Sonny stories there, and then I guess I kind of mentioned I maybe jumped the gun on this question way back, but just to be able to interview Bertuzzi and those guys, like those were some of the good stories I had from maybe not the Brick family per se, but some on the broadcasting side. And I remember when I interviewed Pierre McGuire, he's like, man, your voice is getting beat up. And I'm like, yeah, do you have any like remedies to help? Because I was like a rookie back then. I can't even remember what year that was that he came, but he said, yeah, I swear by the Ricola lemon drops. Like you take those and then you have the hot water and honey. He's like, your voice will be mint like by the next day. And then sure enough, like it's probably been at least 10 years since I met him. And I've been sticking to that through and through, and it's worked to a T. So anybody that's using their voice a lot or maybe loses their voice a lot, from talking too much like me, highly recommend it from Pierre McGuire.
I think RA from Spit and Chicklets needs that. I'm just in the middle of the Clint Malarchuk interview right now, and it is tough, his voice on that. But Sonny, you have anything you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I mean, like I think like make fun of myself. Like Zach's probably taking it easy on me. Like I have probably wiped out on the ice more than anyone. Like after the day's done, we'll often go out on the ice, we'll fire pucks around. And I mean, you guys have all played against me. I have two speeds. I'm not going, or I'm going all in. And that has often led to me like wildly like sprawling in the air, landing in funny positions, and everybody gets a good laugh out of it. Adam Loga, I'll never forget, like he was so impressed by like how strong his phone was. It like, he kept calling it indestructible. I don't know if you were even there yet, Zach. So we're leaving Bourbon Street and he takes this phone and he skips it down the hallway, but it ends up in the fountain in the middle of the mall. And sure enough, Loga just like swan dives into the fountain and just like gets it out. So I mean, we could talk about this for hours. And
Yeah.
I just to close off, for me, it's just that's what makes it so special and so easy to go back and be there 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day for a week, and what we look forward to all year.
Yeah,
I do have one more I'd regret not sharing, actually, just from this year. Just Sonny wiping out on the ice there kind of reminded me of it. But thankfully this one wasn't on video, but we're walking out with the table of trophies this year.
Oh yeah.
And so all the trophies, all the finalist trophies and the MVP trophies and everything like that. And then we're sliding it along the ice. And there's me and one other guy on the front, and all of a sudden the front legs give out. And the whole table of trophies tips over, and the whole rink, like all the teams are there, all the parents, and all you hear is just an "oh." It's the worst sound. It's probably my most embarrassing moment I've had. I do have a video of it, but thankfully it wasn't on the stream for everyone else to see.
Yeah, I remember Andy and Craig just looking around me like, what do we do here? They're like, what just happened?
Yeah,
I was in the pit and I was like trying to hide. I was like thinking about just like leaving town.
I was looking for the fastest way off the ice after that one.
Yeah, just get a good exit stage left going on that one. Yeah. So all right, gentlemen. Well, I appreciate you guys taking an hour and a half out of your Tuesday night on this beautiful night here in Alberta to do an interview with us on our podcast. Really appreciate it, and looking for having Adam back on and maybe a special guest to join us there with Sonny, and maybe even do it live and in person. But yeah, definitely appreciate you guys taking on. And this interview on with us tonight. It means a lot to our fans and to me. So thank you so much. Anything you guys want to add before we go out? Adam, I know you do some skill developments during the day. Where can people sign up? Where is that information, and how people can get a hold of you if they want to kind of take part in some of your skills?
That's a great question. I haven't. So now that I'm back, I'm just in the process of, kind of getting Instagram and all the social media stuff going. And then I'm a little bit more old school. I just send emails out to all the parents. So, I mean, if they want to get a hold of me, whether it's one-on-one sessions, small group sessions, or I'm running my August prep camp the week of the 12th to the 16th for the elite players from U15 triple to U18 triple. They can email me at AdamRManah@gmail.com, or I don't know if I should be throwing my cell number out. I don't think there's any girls listening. So
no, well, I could tag your email. Yeah, I could tag your email in the show notes too. So you'll be there for that. But yeah, I don't know if you want to do the Ryan Rashog tweet your phone number out or send your phone number out. Sonny, you want to add anything before we sign out?
No, great conversation. Always love talking brick tournament and hockey in general with you guys. For any of the brick family, the team reps, the volunteers, the executive, refs, security, DJs, social media,
sponsors, all that stuff. Yeah.
Sponsors. If you do happen to listen, we love you. Tournament's not possible without you guys. And we'll do it again in 350 some days.
And if someone wants to sponsor the brick tournament, Sonny, do you have that information, how they can get a hold of you or the right team involved?
Yeah, I know there's an email. I should know it off the top of my head, but you could just email me, SONNY @brickhockey.ca, and I'll connect you to the right person. Perfect. I think it's probably sponsorship at brickhockey.ca, but send it to me because I know that one for sure exists.
Okay. And Zach, you want to say anything before we sign out? Really appreciate you coming on too.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me and Sonny and Adam this platform to kind of share our stories and our appreciation for the brick tournament, and then have a great conversation. So I appreciate you, and thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone, take care. Have a good week. Stay kind. We'll be back on Friday with an interview with the #1 chuck wagon racer right now in all of Canada, and Ray Corrado Jr. He is ranked #1 throughout the world. He had a bit of a tough night in the Calgary Stampede, and I think it was night 6. So he took a 10-second penalty, but he was chugging along to winning. But Ray Corrado is going to join us on Thursday night, and that interview will come out Friday. So that'll be our next interview after this one coming out. And yes, we're looking forward to that. And we're going to have Mitch Love, the assistant coach of the Washington Capitals, on later in the next week too. And also an interview with Adam again. But looking forward to connecting back with you guys. Thank you so much. And everyone stay kind, stay humble. We love you guys, and have fun, and drink some bile still, I guess. Try to get them back in business. But take care, guys. Have a good one.